What is up, Guardians? Good evening. It's your buddy, Two Toots, and you're watching my YouTube channel, Twice the Toots. Tonight, I'm bringing you a video that might be a little bit controversial. You can see in the headline, Trials of Osiris sucks. Didn't always suck. Give you a little bit of background on me in this particular game mode. I used to play it quite extensively throughout the Taken King. Pretty much every single weekend. This game mode captured me. It's a combination of slow-moving dread and fast-moving excitement and adrenaline that no other game mode really comes close to. And the only one that has the same kind of feeling was Search and Destroy from the Call of Duty franchises. Maybe some of you have played that before. Very first time I played Trials of Osiris, I was shaking, man. I was totally hooked. In a comeback victory, my adrenaline was pumping like it had never pumped before. But it's lacking now in year 3.
I have been stationed on the reef for the duration of the current crisis. Do you have bounties to return, Guardian? Please repeat address.
There are some significant flaws with the way the loot works in the Rise of Iron, and I think it's really put a hamper on the quality of game mode that we have in Trials of Osiris. In the Taken King, it had a distinction of having fantastic loot, something that everybody was striving for and everybody was pushing for. I remember getting killed in the Crucible, whether it be in Iron Band or a regular Crucible modes, that doctrine of passing. You knew when you were getting shot with that thing. The bullets would hit you in a certain way, just this flurry of death, and you were melted in a second. And you'd obviously see, YouTubers or guys on Twitch using that weapon and said, I have to have that weapon myself. It was a real carrot on the stick to get into Trials and to start playing and start grinding away for it. I don't know if you guys know, but there's a ghost up here. I never knew that before. So I hope I helped somebody there. But with Trials of Osiris this year, the distinction of having that top tier weapon, it's not there. And recent patch aside, the game mode that you play to get the best weapon is not Trials. It's not the Doctrine of Passing. It's not the Blind Perdition or the other weapons that are there. The best weapon that people have been grinding for actually comes from Iron Banner, the Clever Dragon. That was the must-have. And I can even tell you that, just with other game modes like regular Crucible, your Eyes Luna is far more valuable and far more sought after. Even the vendor-rolled Palindrome is a better option than what you're typically going to find from Trials of Osiris. And getting into the most recent patch, again, more Crucible weapons. You got the Hopscotch Pilgrim, Spare Change 25. All of these weapons are more valuable in the current meta than really anything that you're going to find in a Trials of Osiris match on the 7th win. With the exception of the Blind Perdition, I'm gonna, obviously can't trash everything. That is a weapon that people are looking for, but I would put it behind everything that I mentioned. The bottom line is that the loot in Year 3 Trials of Osiris, it just doesn't have that killer app, that ultimate weapon that everybody is looking for, like the Doctrine of Passing from Year 2. So problem number 1, we've discussed it. It's really the loot itself. There's nothing desirable. There's nothing that says, I'm going to spend the next 2 or 3 hours of my life going through a card, trying to grind and get myself, that sweet loot. It's just not there. So it's a real problem with Trials of Osiris right now. Brings me into the second issue, though, for me. And that's the bounties itself. Guys, there are no year 3 weapons in any of the bounties whatsoever. You're going to get yourself year 2 weapons. And from somebody like myself, who's played Trials of Osiris extensively throughout year 2, you know, I've got the Doctrine, I've got the Water Star, I've got the Glass Promontory, I've got all kinds of gear from that game mode. I don't need it anymore. If I want to infuse it, I can take, you know, regular Crucible gear or Iron Banner gear that I'm not using, and use that to infuse it. I don't need, you know, that weapon to drop again. I don't need another perfectly rolled Doctrine of Passing. I already have one. Mine has Counterbalance and Perfect Balance. The thing's a fucking laser beam. So that's a real disappointment for me, that I'm not going to get really anything out of value. You know, oh sure, I'm sure people are going to be out there saying, oh, you can hit the 7th win and get yourself one weapon. But I'll tell you guys, in the amount of times that, you know, I've played Trials of Osiris throughout the last, you know, year and a bit, which is, you know, a significant amount of times, probably more than your average player, of course. You know, the amount of times that I've actually hit 7 wins, you can probably count it on 2 hands. So that's not really a reliable way to ensure that you're getting yourself the best weapon with the best rolls. Another thing that I find, you know, completely inexcusable is that, you know, you're getting gear and the drops that don't even go up to 400. You know, if you get a win, you have a random chance of getting a year 3 piece of gear, boots, you know, gloves, helmets, whatever. Year 3 piece of gear that's going to drop at 390 light. What is that going to do for me? I thought that this was supposed to be an end game activity. I thought that this was supposed to give me gear that was going to take me to 400 light. The only way, you know, to reliably get 400 light gear is from the bounties. It will drop year 3 gear. When I say gear, obviously I'm not talking about weapons. And then from your 5th win on the card. You know, the bounties themselves, they're very underwhelming. When you combine the fact that there are, you know, no weapons that I really want to grind after, it's a real problem for Trials of Osiris. It's really demotivating for me to pick up that game mode and get in there. And if you'll even excuse me, I don't even have a lot of clips from Trials of Osiris. I just could not bring myself to play more than the couple of hours that I put in this weekend. It was just too painful. And that, you know, also brings me to the third problem with Trials of Osiris, and that is the rampant cheating that is going on in the game mode. DDoS attacks. All of a sudden, you know, you're down 2 to 3 because, you know, they've done a dedicated denial of service to you or to one of your partners. Another, you know, thing that I've seen and heard people, you know, talk about cheating is spamming, because, you know, the PS4 is going to display every message that you receive. So what people are doing is they're going on websites that, you know, do dedicated spamming to PlayStation 4. They'll send you 100 messages, and those messages conveniently block your radar for an extended period of time. And you know what? It's not really, I mean, we can fault the people that are actually doing the cheating, but it's the atmosphere that's been created. The only way that these people can get loot is to cheat. So we've created a situation, created a monster that this late in the game, talking about being in March in the 3rd year, Destiny 2 right around the corner, this late in the game, it's probably never going to get changed. So it is what it is, unfortunately. So, you know, there you have my thoughts. You know, 3 major problems about why I've only gone to play Trials of Osiris just a handful of times. And that's not just my sentiment. That's sentiment that I'm seeing on Reddit, the players that I've played with over, you know, the last weekend. You know, all say the same thing. You know, I used to play it on a regular basis, but I don't anymore. And what's to blame them? You know, who's to blame them, really? You have underwhelming loot. You've got a bounty system that isn't going to get you, you know, something that you're looking for in reality. Who needs more armor? And then also, let's not forget the fact that this game mode is completely surrounded by people who are willing to cheat in various ways. So it's a toxic environment, and you know, I still steer well clear of it. And I really hope that, with Destiny 2, there are some changes. They're also talking about some sandbox changes that they're going to unveil on March 22nd. I hope maybe Trials of Osiris is something that they take a look at. Who's to say? If they want to, get me playing it again, I definitely going to need to see, some changes. I think really what I would like to see the most is dedicated servers so people can't find your IP. Obviously at this point in the game in year 3, I don't think that's going to happen. We might be looking at for Destiny 2, but I think that would solve a lot of the problems. And then also, bring back the bounties to the way they were. Give, your middle of the pack players, give them an opportunity to earn something of value. But of course, tell me your thoughts in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe. We'll see you next time.